Chapter 3. Welcome back to our magical journey. Tonight, the Christmas Express introduces Emma and Cory to their first ghostly passenger, William Anderson, a young Union soldier from 1863. As they step into a Civil War winter camp, our siblings are about to learn powerful lessons about sacrifice, duty, and the timeless bonds of family. Emma and Cory exchanged a quick glance, a silent conversation passing between them. With a slight nod, they reached their decision. They would follow Pixie wherever she might lead them. They trailed behind Pixie as she led them through a small copse of trees. Bare branches laden with snow reached overhead like gnarled fingers, creating a natural archway that seemed to separate the mundane world from one of magic and wonder. Their footsteps crunched softly in the fresh powder, creating a rhythm that matched their quickening heartbeats. The cold nipped at their cheeks and noses, but the excitement of the unknown kept them moving forward. As they emerged from the little forest into a moonlit clearing, Emma and Cory stopped short, their mouths agape in astonishment. The familiar scene of the abandoned railway station had vanished, replaced by a vision that seemed plucked from the pages of a fairy tale. Where once stood a dilapidated shack, surrounded by rusted metal and scattered debris, now stood a quaint, incredibly pristine New England railway station. Its clapboard siding gleamed a pristine white in the moonlight, trimmed with deep forest green shutters and intricate gingerbread detailing along the eaves. A gabled roof, dusted with snow like confectioner's sugar, stretched over a covered platform where wrought iron benches invited weary travelers to rest. Above the station's entrance hung an old-fashioned sign, its gilt lettering spelling out Rosewood Hollow in elegant script that seemed to dance in the flickering light. Warm, golden light spilled from the windows, casting inviting pools on the snow-covered ground and filling the air with a cozy glow. In front of the station stood a magnificent Christmas tree, its branches adorned with twinkling lights and vintage ornaments that clinked softly in the gentle night breeze. The star atop the tree seemed to shine with the same magical sparkle as Pixie's tail, pulsing with an inner light that spoke of miracles and wishes come true. Magic shimmered in the air around the station, carrying scents of pine, cinnamon, and an indefinable otherworldliness. It was as if they had stepped through a portal into a world where time stood still, preserving the golden age of rail travel and the wonder of Christmases past. As magical as the station appeared, it was the tracks that truly captured their attention. Cory's gaze was drawn to them like a magnet. Where there had been only remnants of rusted rails and rotting ties, now lay two parallel lines of gleaming steel. The tracks glistened in the moonlight as if freshly polished, stretching out into the distance as far as the eye could see in both directions, a silver ribbon cutting through the snowy landscapes. Above the tracks, a set of signal lights glowed a deep, rich red, heralding the approach of an oncoming train. The distant whistle they'd heard earlier sounded again, closer now, accompanied by the rhythmic chuffing of a steam engine that seemed to make the very air vibrate with anticipation. Cory couldn't believe his eyes. He ran toward the barrier separating the platform from the tracks, his mind reeling. "This is impossible," he muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. All the tracks were removed years ago. I saw it myself. Matthew said Matthew said it was so the kids wouldn't play out here and hurt themselves. Yet there they were, as real as the cold air biting at his cheeks. The rails ran straight and true into the distance, disappearing into the misty night. Cory's mind raced, trying to reconcile the impossible scene before him with the abandoned, rusted tracks he knew so well. The logical part of his brain screamed that this couldn't be real, yet his heart thrummed with a growing belief in magic. Emma joined her brother at the barrier, her blue eyes wide with wonder, reflecting the twinkling lights of the Christmas tree. "Cory," she whispered, tugging at his sleeve, her voice filled with awe and excitement. "Look!" A bell clanged rhythmically now, and in the distance a warm glow appeared, growing brighter by the second. The whistle sounded again, louder and clearer than before, its melody seeming to call directly to their hearts. The chuffing of the engine grew more distinct, and wisps of steam began to curl over the treetops like ethereal fingers, reaching for the stars. The distant glow intensified, piercing the misty night like a beacon of wonder and heralding the arrival of something truly extraordinary. The very air seemed to crackle with electricity, a palpable sense of magic enveloping the siblings as they stood on the cusp of an incredible adventure. Emma and Cory watched in awe, breathless with anticipation. Pixie sat calmly beside them, her tail wagging gently. Her eyes, filled with an almost human-like wisdom, gazed at the approaching light. The magical train was arriving, bringing with it the promise of an extraordinary journey and the potential to rekindle the belief in Christmas magic that Cory thought he had lost. The night air crackled with anticipation as Cory, Emma, and Pixie stood by the tracks, their breath forming delicate clouds that danced and swirled in the moonlight. The distant rumble grew stronger, vibrating through the ground and into their bones as a wondrous sight emerged from the misty night. A melodious whistle pierced the air, its haunting tune weaving through the bare branches of nearby trees. The rhythmic chuffing of a steam engine grew louder, each puff sending a shiver of excitement down the siblings' spines. And then, as if conjured from their wildest dreams, a long Christmas train glided into the station. The train was a vision of enchantment that defied reality. Its polished emerald green carriages gleamed like precious gems, their surfaces adorned with intricate gold filigree that seemed to move and shift in the moonlight. Each window glowed with a warm, inviting light that spilled onto the snow-covered platform, transforming the white powder into a carpet of liquid gold. Garlands of fragrant evergreen wound their way along the length of the train, their deep green a stark contrast to the shimmering carriages. Nestled among the branches were twinkling lights that pulsed and flickered in perfect harmony with the stars above, as if the very heavens had descended to decorate this magical conveyance. The engine, a magnificent beast of brass and steel, commanded attention at the front of the train. It puffed out plumes of iridescent steam that shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow, each cloud a miniature aurora borealis that dissipated into the night sky, Its cowcatcher, shaped like a giant snowflake, glistened as if frosted with diamond dust, each facet catching and reflecting the moonlight in a dazzling display. Emma's grip on Cory's hand tightened, her eyes wide with wonder. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out, the magical sight before them rendering her speechless. Cory felt a lump in his throat, his heart racing with a mixture of awe and disbelief. The cynicism that had clouded his view of Christmas seemed to melt away, replaced by a childlike wonder he thought he had lost long ago. As the train came to a gentle stop, the only sound the soft hiss of steam, the doors of the station building creaked open. An old conductor emerged, each step measured and deliberate. His silver hair peeked out from under a navy cap adorned with golden braiding that caught the light with each movement. His uniform, crisp and neat, seemed to belong to another era, the brass buttons gleaming as if freshly polished. The conductor's face was a map of wrinkles, each line telling a story of countless journeys and adventures, but it was his eyes that captivated the siblings. They twinkled with a mix of ancient wisdom and useful mischief, as if he held the secrets of the universe and found them endlessly amusing. He approached Emma and Cory, his boots crunching softly in the snow. When he spoke, his voice was warm and inviting, like a cozy fireplace on a cold winter's night. "All aboard!" he called out, the words hanging in the air like a magical incantation. "Tickets, please." He held out a gnarled hand, and Emma's mouth opened and closed, words failing her as she realized their predicament. But Cory felt an inexplicable urge, a tingling sensation that traveled from his chest down to his fingertips. Almost of their own accord, his fingers dipped into his pockets. To his astonishment, they closed around something papery, something that most certainly hadn't been there before. With trembling hands, Cory pulled out 2 golden tickets. They were works of art in their own right, ornately decorated with swirling patterns that seemed to move and change as he looked at them. The tickets emitted a faint, magical glow, bathing his hands in warm, golden light. The conductor's eyes crinkled with a knowing smile as he took the tickets. His antique ticket punch let out a musical chime as it pressed through the paper, the sound reminiscent of sleigh bells on a clear winter night. As he handed the tickets back, Cory could have sworn he saw images dancing in the newly formed holes, fleeting glimpses of snow-covered landscapes and twinkling Christmas trees. The old man swung his brass lantern, its light dancing across the snow like playful sprites. "Right this way." He gestured toward the nearest carriage, his movements fluid and graceful despite his apparent age. As they approached the train, a silent exchange passed between the conductor and Pixie. The old man nodded slightly, a gesture so subtle it might have been missed, if not for the equally subtle response from Pixie. A gentle wag of her tail, the magical sparkle at its tip growing brighter, casting starlight reflections on the snow beneath her. At the foot of the steps, Cory hesitated. The polished brass railing felt cool beneath his fingertips, grounding him in reality, even as the magical train before him defied all logic. A whirlwind of emotions washed over him. Excitement at the adventure ahead, trepidation at the unknown, and a small voice of doubt questioning the wisdom of boarding a magical train in the middle of the night. Just then, a gentle voice echoed in his mind, as clear as if it had been spoken aloud. "It's Christmas." The words were filled with warmth and reassurance, wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. Cory had the distinct impression that Pixie had somehow spoken to him, her canine features suddenly seeming wise beyond measure. He glanced at Emma and saw the same look of surprised recognition on her face, her eyes wide with wonder. She had heard it too. The siblings' eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. In that moment, all doubts faded away, replaced by a sense of destiny and the knowledge that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. With a deep breath that seemed to fill him with courage, Cory took Emma's hand and stepped onto the train, Pixie trotting happily behind them, her paws leaving glowing paw prints that faded slowly in the snow. As they crossed the threshold into the carriage, their senses were overwhelmed. The scent of old leather and wood enveloped them, as rich and comforting as freshly baked Christmas cookies. Soft strains of a distant carol tickled their ears, the melody both familiar and hauntingly new. The air itself seemed to shimmer with magic, tiny motes of light dancing around them like playful fairies. Cory and Emma exchanged a look of pure wonder, their eyes shining with the reflection of this magical world. The magic of Christmas had come alive, and they were at the very heart of it. Rich mahogany paneling lined the walls, its deep, warm tones gleaming in the soft light. Intricate gold leaf patterns danced across the wood, creating mesmerizing swirls and flourishes that seemed to move of their own accord. Each panel was a work of art, telling stories of faraway lands and magical realms in its golden etchings. Plush emerald green velvet seats lined either side of the carriage, their deep hue reminiscent of ancient forests. The fabric caught the light, creating a shimmering effect that made the seats appear alive. Brass fittings polished to a mirror shine adorned the edges of each seat, their reflective surfaces capturing miniature, distorted version of the awestruck siblings. Overhead, a crystal chandelier swayed gently with the motion of the train. Its dozens of facets caught and refracted the light, scattering a kaleidoscope of colors across the carriage. Tiny rainbows danced on the walls, the seats, and even on Cory and Emma's faces, painting them in ethereal hues. The air itself seemed alive with magic. Tendrils of fragrant steam curled through the carriage, carrying the comforting scents of cinnamon, clove, and pine. Each breath was like inhaling a memory of Christmases past. Freshly baked cookies on Christmas morning, evergreen wreath, and the unmistakable essence of holiday joy. Cory and Emma's fingers intertwined as they made their way to one of the luxurious seats. As they sat down, the velvet embraced them, molding to their forms as if it had been waiting just for them. The fabric radiated a gentle warmth, like a loving hug from a dear friend. Before them, a small table of polished cherry wood held a delicate porcelain tea set. The teapot, adorned with hand-painted winter scenes, seemed to come alive in the flickering light. Steam rose from its spout in hypnotic spirals, carrying with it the promise of warmth and comfort. Through the windows, the station began to slide away. The conductor's voice rang out clear and strong. "All aboard!" The words hung in the air for a moment, shimmering like frost crystals before dissolving into the ether. The train's whistle blew, a sound unlike any they had heard before. It started low, building to a crescendo that vibrated through their bodies, resonating in their very souls. The melody spoke of adventure, magic, of journeys yet to come. With a gentle lurch that sent a thrill of excitement through their bodies, the train began to move. The magical station receded into the distance, the twinkling lights of its Christmas tree becoming indistinguishable from the stars above. As the full weight of their situation settled upon them, Cory's grip on Emma's hand tightened. A flicker of uncertainty passed between them, their eyes meeting in a silent exchange of questions. Where was this enchanted train taking them? What adventures or dangers might lie ahead? Just as the first seeds of worry began to take root, a flutter of movement caught their attention. Pixie, her fur still shimmering with that otherworldly glow, gracefully leapt onto a plush seat opposite them. Her paws sank into the velvet, leaving momentary indentations that sparkled with residual magic before smoothing out. As Pixie settled herself, tucking her tail around her paws, her eyes met theirs. In that moment, a gentle voice resonated within Cory and Emma's minds, as clear as if spoken aloud. "Do not worry," it said, the words wrapped in warmth and tinged with the faintest chime of sleigh bells. "You are perfectly safe. Your Christmas journey is just beginning." The voice, unmistakably Pixie's, washed over them like a soothing balm. The knot of worry in Cory's chest unraveled, replaced by bubbling excitement. Emma's eyes lit up, a smile spreading across her face as she felt the last of her apprehension melt away. "I've heard her before," Emma whispered. "And Mom told me this is how it happens. But Pixie's never spoken to me directly." Cory could only stare, his mind struggling to process the impossible events unfolding around them. Every instinct his 17-year-old brain possessed screamed that this couldn't be happening. Yet here they were. The seats beneath them and the little table in front of them were solid, tangible proof of their extraordinary circumstances. Emma sat beside him, her presence a comforting anchor in this sea of magic. And Pixie? Pixie looked at him with a big, open-mouthed grin and winked, her canine features somehow conveying a very human expression of mischief and wisdom. Outside the window, the world had transformed into a canvas of wonder. Moonlit snow rushed past in a silver blur, punctuated by the occasional flash of twinkling stars that seemed close enough to touch. The glass of the window fogged slightly with each of their exhaled breath, creating a dreamy haze through which they viewed the magical landscape. Cory and Emma leaned back into the embrace of their velvet seats, their bodies relaxing, but their senses alert to every magical detail around them. Cory's eyes darted from the swaying chandelier to the ever-changing patterns in the wood grain, while Emma's fingers traced the intricate embroidery on a nearby cushion, marveling at how the threads seemed to shimmer and move beneath her touch. Their faces, illuminated by the soft, warm glow of the carriage, were a picture of wonder and anticipation. As the train picked up speed, the rhythmic clacking of wheels on tracks became a magical melody, underscoring the extraordinary nature of their journey. The siblings exchanged a glance, no words needed to convey their shared excitement. Whatever this magical Christmas journey had in store for them, they were ready to face it together, their hearts open to the wonder and possibilities that lay ahead. The magical train sped away, carrying them towards an adventure beyond their wildest dreams. With each moment, the ordinary world faded further away, and they found themselves embracing the extraordinary magic of this unforgettable journey. The echoes of William's story will stay with Emma and Cory as they continue their journey. Join us tomorrow as the Christmas Express carries them to their next extraordinary encounter, a determined suffragette with an inspiring tale of courage. Check out all of the other books in the Magical Papillon series of cozy mysteries on Amazon now.